The third agreement is don't make assumptions. We have the tendency to make assumptions about everything. The problem with making assumptions is that we believe they are the truth. We could swear they are real. We make assumptions about what others are doing or thinking. We take it personally. Then we blame them and react by sending emotional poison with our word. That is why whenever we make assumptions, we're asking for problems. We make an assumption, we misunderstand, we take it personally, and we end up creating a whole big drama for nothing. So, this paragraph is basically saying that people make assumptions all the time. And an assumption is a judgment that you make about somebody without knowing whether or not it's true. And then we end up believing that it is true. Second paragraph. All the sadness and drama you have lived in your life was rooted in making assumptions and taking things personally. Take a moment to consider the truth of this statement. The whole world of control between humans is about making assumptions and taking things personally. Our whole dream of hell is based on that. So this paragraph is saying that making assumptions causes people to be sad and to have to deal with things that they shouldn't have to deal with. It makes things harder than it really needs to be. Third paragraph. We create a lot of emotional poison just by making assumptions and taking it personally, because usually we start gossiping about our assumptions. Remember, gossiping is the way we communicate to each other in the dream of hell and transfer poison to one another. Because we are afraid to ask for clarification, we make assumptions and believe we are right about the assumptions. Then we defend our assumptions and try to make someone else wrong. It is always better to ask questions than to make an assumption, because assumptions set us up for suffering. So this paragraph is basically saying that when people make assumptions, they end up sharing those with other people. And that's what gossip is. That's when we assume or we say things about people that aren't true, and we share those ideas with other people. And this actually can be avoided if we just ask ourselves, are these assumptions true? Or we ask the person that we are making assumptions about, is this true? For a lot of people, that's a hard thing to do, so they just choose to keep believing the assumptions. The fourth paragraph. The big mitote in the human mind creates a lot of chaos, which causes us to misinterpret everything and misunderstand everything. We only see what we want to see and hear what we want to hear. We don't perceive things the way they are. We have the habit of dreaming with no basis in reality. We literally dream things up in our imaginations. Because we don't understand something, we make an assumption about the meaning. And when the truth comes out, the bubble of our dream pops, and we find out it was not what we thought it was at all. So, this paragraph is basically saying that when humans think, we have so much going on in our brains, so many different thoughts, that we often don't see things the way they really are. What we do is we see things the way we want them to be. And this causes us to believe things that aren't true and to really not see things the way they really are. We just make things up sometimes. And we do that a lot when we don't understand something. So, for instance, to be very simple about it, I'll use a math example. For some people, adding is really hard. And they might look at something like 2 plus 2 and think to themselves, well, I don't know what that is, so I'm just going to say that 2 plus 2 is 6. And that's not correct. 2 plus 2 is actually 4. But because it was so hard for that person to add, they just decided to make it easy for themselves and say it was 6. And if they go on to keep believing that, they're going to believe something that's not true.